Howdy, all of you delicious people. I am here to review Don't F in the Woods because even in the first minute of the video, you can't go on and do cuss words now, can you? So, we make our way into this film, and it feels like I'm obligated to try to prevent you to go into a very specific location to do a certain act of some kind. But for whatever reason, I feel that you're just going to go there inevitably anyways. There's nothing I can say or do. There's going to be sequels that prove me otherwise, but inevitably you're going to go on because you want to see that effing, right? And so with that said, couldn't you have just gone on and watched Humanoid of the Deep? Creatures that go on and find women and F them, sometimes to death, but ultimately in memory. Not always, I don't think, the case. Anyways, so eventually Humanoid of the Deep builds to a point in that film that is to be remembered most by me, where we have this ventriloquist dummy guy that is in a tent with a woman hoping that he's gonna get laid because a puppet show, and I'm to just be like, what? And that is to be a movie that I would go on and just be baffled by, but I am to just be like, yeah, that exists. So really, you could have gone on and watched that and avoided going into effing in the woods, right? But no, that's just not you. Couldn't you have gone on and watched Plank Face? A movie where you're going on and watching an estranged family go on and consistently within cabin go on and both be sleeping with one another, but then also going out to murder people and consume their human balls. Gross. And that movie is to be fairly strange. But hey, it seems that a good number of people are to be fairly intrigued by it. So, couldn't you have watched Blank Face? No. Again, you want to go to a very narrow location to go on and see some effing. Okay, great. Friday the 13th and all of its movies, no effect. Oh well. Anyways, Predator, that's a normal film. And no? Well, I guess I've tried it all. So, Don't F in the Woods gives you a movie that is to have women that are to have an amazing bit of bates, even the ones that are to have clothing within on them, are to really just give us a film that is to be an honest camp environment, which eventually will lead into these certain effing scenes. And we also come to find a creature that's to make its way through this camp and kill people. We would come to find that this creature, like, I'm not quite sure of its motives. Does it go on and does it track people who are to be effing? Does it whiff it out? Like, does he sense the pheromones of or the smell of the ham slapping good time? Like, I am to go on and just be questioning that. It seems that by the end of the film, we find that the creature is to be consuming certain people's nethered organs or down below's organs. But that is not really quite clear in the movie. Maybe in the sequels they go on and they clear that up more. But until that time comes, we're just watching this film. So, I feel that the only problem that is to be really with this movie is just its budget and its early goings of possibly filming. I don't know. I'm not aware. Also, it seems that we come to find that these people are to be some kind of movie buff people, but not movie buff enough to realize that they're in a horror environment and what is to be the best way to avoid all of this. Which that bugs the shit out of me. But anyways, we come to find that Don't F in the Woods gives us a story of these new group of people going into a camp because they're looking for a couple that has gone missing, but then also trying to enjoy their own camp experience. They go on and play the normal truth or dares, or they just try to get drunk, or some kind of intoxication impossible. And eventually, this movie is to lead into tense situations that are to be the revealing of skin and adult scenes. So, and then here's where the monster comes in. More than likely, every single tense scene is to lead to inevitably a monster scene also. And, well, like, there is the one scene where the guy is just tossing one off by a tree. So maybe not everything hits that same exact way. We get more women skin than male. Like, we have Mac and I think we have Luke in the beginning of this movie that are go on to be shirtless, or I think maybe even Luke is to be basically nude. Uh, but yeah, most of this movie really just has the guys that I think are kind of more discreet about their nudity. Like, you won't even go on and see their dicks at any point. Which is fine, because at least we see a good number of women. We get to see like these women in their amazing bodies going on and being involved in this film. So I do appreciate that. Any kind of critique of this film? There are times where I can't exactly know what is really going on at certain points. I can't always go on and really understand what the kills are. I can't really understand even like some of the sex stuff, because like the camera is too close. If the camera would have backed off a little bit, we probably could have maybe have gone on and understood a little bit more of what's going on in the tent room, I guess, if you want to go on and you want to say that. But that's just early camera making. That's also just the budget of the film of like, well, what can we get away with here? Like, what can we go on and maybe do off camera, because it's very difficult to do it on this movie here. And I flacked the people of that, but also like I appreciate what we did get. Um this movie is to be an hour and change, and like a lot of it is kind of waiting around to get to the beats and the parts of which that will intrigue us the most. There is some kind of fun stuff, like we obviously get like the Fast Times at Ridgemont High scene where we have the guy tossing one off by the tree, and he's daydreaming about Lacey, and Lacey's going on like, oh well, hey, yeah. She goes on and takes off her top and gets ever so close to the guy, and then he dies shortly thereafter that. Yeah. Um Basically Fast Times at Ridgemont High. So there's stuff about this that I feel that like this movie is clever, but I also would probably want to go on and see a sequel to see like where they could have gone with this more money wise, and now they have experience under the belt, like where they decided to go with these camera angles and stuff like that to just show things better. But obviously we're really just here to just see topless women and they get killed, and that's all we're really here for, right? Like that's really all we need in this film, right? So they deliver that, and I'm so grateful to have seen this movie more than once at this point, because I've gone on and actually gone on to see that task be done by me, because I've lived it. Anyways, so let's go on and let's push and let's get into the spoiler part of this, where I go through scene for scene, blow by blow, all this movie. I'm going to try as much as humanly possible to condense down this film, realizing runtime, as well as also the fact that I'm doubling up today and doing another video right after this. Uh, uh, so, and it's gonna be very strange. The stuff that I released out today, it'll be very strange. People won't get it, and people are like, "What the is this?" And I'll be like, "Dude, I'm just pushing out these films. I'm just trying to do something here. I'm hoping for the best for this channel." But really, I'm also just being like, whatever at this point. Like, what's going on in my day to day life on top of this, it's just like whatever I can just blah at this point is just whatever I can do. Um, like, I'm just trying to do movies that I've never seen before, or stuff that I just naturally assume people will be the most intrigued by at this point. I've made a lot of throwing out there of ideas, and then I don't come with them. I don't follow up on them. So that's my just problem that I have. I even have other things that I'm planning on doing in the future, um, because of just how like we have the ever evolving like, oh, I saw this video and I saw these games coming out, so I might as well go on and I might as well do stuff that connects with Subnautica 2 right now. So I'm going to go on and I feel like I'm going to eventually do movies like Deep Rising, and I'm going to do stuff like The Abyss. There's also other kind of interesting underwater films that I could probably go on and do at some point to connect with that, but I'm not really quite sure who will really give a about it. But I hope people will. Um, but if anything, I think Deep Rising is going to be impactful. The Abyss is going to be really impactful. I think there's a lot of people that at least know that film or familiar with it. So hope for the best with that. That's probably what, like, I probably could have gone on and done a lot more of a lot more things. A lot of times, but I just like, okay, I'll just kind of get this out of my system and then I'll move on. I'll get this out of my system and I'll move on. And then I'll come back to it and I'll kind of just rotate it, and yeah, just there's always just a smattering of stuff I do on this channel. But hopefully at some point I'll go on and I will boomerang back at some point. Especially to go on and get to the point to where of which that I should be getting to, which is to be going into the full-on breakdown of this movie. Currently, this film is still available on Tubi, Tubi, so check it out there. Dare say, go ahead and F in the woods, because if anything, you'll be able to go on and watch a film that has quite a bit of TNA in it, and also good-looking actors and actresses and what have you. So with that said, it's about that time to push on into full-on breakdown of film, so I'm going to, I think, I even got to a point where I am to already be at the front of the movie. There's a part that I question about the cast list of film, because when I am to go on anywhere to find the cast of this movie, it was very challenging to frickin' find who all these people were. Everywhere I went, there was not one place that had a definitive cast list, or I would have to go on and match like actors' pictures to their character names somewhere. But because I couldn't definitively find a cast list of this movie any goddamn where, so if anything, I was trying to go on and thumb through some of the images of this movie also to kind of connect names somewhere, and luckily I found that, because I'm not good with names. But I forcibly just have to figure out how I have to talk about who all these people are, and so the names of which is the way I do so. Uh, but anyways, let's get into it. Let's do the song and dance because it is spoiler time. Spoiler time. It's about that time. I'm going to spoil this movie. Um, yeah, like I probably should go on and probably say how much amount of uh adult scenes there are. Like there is quite a bit of this kind of sprinkled throughout this film. Like you obviously get like one right away. There is to be like towards like the later half of the film, there's kind of like two going on at the same time. There's to be one couple that is kind of off to the side. Uh, so there's about maybe five or more maybe scenes. Plus, if you also count the scene with Lacey and the guy that's tossing one off, that's probably like six, right? That's somewhere in there. Um, so yeah, there's five or more scenes that are probably going on in this movie. So for the hour and change, like yeah, like there's to I think be a good enough amount of people being of the nude and the buff in this movie. So with that said, let's get into spoilers. So in the beginning of this film, we have Meg. Meg is in the woods. What looks like at first by herself. She's going on and just huddling by the fire. She's cold. All of a sudden, there is a guy named Luke who both scares her and then comforts her and kind of is to kind of spoon her a little bit from behind. And then Luke goes on and starts kissing the back of her, and they start looking at the stars, and Luke just continues to try and be intimate with Meg. And the further that they kiss, the more that Meg is going to uh, start to do stuff for Luke, like give him a BJ and also take her top off and further take her clothes off to lure Luke into the tent. By the time she gets to the tent, she unsheaths her pants. So, Luke inevitably is to love camping at this point, so he follows her into the tent. So, while this is going on, I believe we inevitably have the creature that is just kind of lingering through the woods. Eventually getting a big old whiff of like, something smells like effing in the oven. So, as Meg and Luke are to have made their way into the tent in throes of passion, going on to have one on top of the other, who is Meg being on top of Luke, and then there's like on all fours, doggy style, all kinds of transition of scenes here. And as there is to be a moment where it seems that these people are coming to the climax or fruition of the love a making, we'd all of a sudden come to find that Meg is getting a little splash of something, and she's like, Luke, come on, like and then it's blood. Oh, it's not the white stuff, it's the red stuff. Oh no. So we have to surmise here that Luke is feeling a little bit whole, and I don't mean that it's because of the liquid that has been flying from out of sight of him. We'd come to find out that Luke is seemingly to have kind of lost a bit of himself and died. Meg is to try to run out of the tent out of just straight up fear, to then make her way into falling onto the ground, to have been grabbed by creature, to then be killed, ultimately followed up by that. We then cut to what looks like to be an adult themed scene would just be like this scene is just kind of funny. So we have Mac that comes in, and he is to be this plumber that is to be like Italian, and he's wearing a construction shirt. It's like an orange vest. So Mac comes into this room where obviously these women are wearing their undergarments and just that, which makes no sense. But also, Mac is just wearing his underwear and the construction vest, so that doesn't make any sense either. But so we go back to almost like the pizza delivery boy style of early adult scenes within this scene here, where Mac comes in and like, well, hey, yeah, I'm here to clean your pipes. And the woman's like, oh, we don't have money for that. And so Mac is just like, well, that's okay. I like the sex. And they're like, oh, so do we. And so all of a sudden there's to be the throes of lovemaking. And then all of a sudden we come to find out that Mac is just dreaming all this, that he's in his car. All of a sudden, Mac makes his way outside of his car to inevitably find some guy B-wording and moaning on the phone. And as Mac gets out of his car and starts to heckle this guy, all of a sudden the guy on the phone starts chasing after Mac, to where Mac goes on to in turn force his way into this door to get away from this guy who's yelling at him. And kind of a bit of a funny scene here. It's pretty comical. Because we don't know why there's this argument going on. Mac goes on and just to berate this guy, to where in turn, like, Mac realizes that he's just kind of outmatched here and runs off. Classic comedy here. So we now cut to Alex. Alex is to go on and find her brother Sammy calling her, and gets out of her bed right next to Jane. I believe it's Jane, the inevitable girl that may be final. So, and I have to go and I have to double check that just to make sure that I'm to, yeah, Jane. So we come to find that Alex makes her way outside this balcony to then be calling her said brother, and Alex comes to find out that her brother is asking her for money to loan. And yeah, like, who hasn't gone on and probably had this in their life, right? Like, I've had it in my situation where family would go on and always be asking for money, of which when I had it. So yeah, like I can completely relate in this this way of things going about. So here is then when Jane gets up. Jane gets up, good mornings, Alex, and Alex asks Jane for coffee. Jane goes on and gets her some bit of coffee in her panties and her hate you too shirt. Great idea. Great idea for a jersey. So Jane goes on to speak with Alex, and Alex is just so frustrated at this point. She's like, I was hoping this job was going to pan out. I was hoping that all these things were going to pan out. And Jane just goes on, like, you know what, Alex? Like, let's forget all that and let's just go camping. Like, let's just forget about all the job hunting. All that stuff will happen. You won't die in this movie, right? You'll just go on and live and be able to do all this stuff when you get back. Or you'll just be dead anyways, and none of this stuff will matter anyways, right? Because you'll be dead. I hate to break it to everybody, But yeah, Alex, I'm sorry. Like, any of this stuff is not really going to matter. But I hope that whoever uh, or whoever was who have played Alex does go on and does have a good life. Anyways, so we push on here. So so they're talking about who is it all that is going to this camp, some jocks, some this, some that, and some whore of a sister and what have you. They're going on and they're telling us who all they're gonna go with and how much they don't like any of them, which is kind of funny. It's like, so you're really wanting to just put up this whole camp thing, even though you don't like any of these people. Just okay. So we make our way into this video store. We cut to this. So we come to find that there is a shoplifter within this video store. Yeah, like, I don't know why they're focusing on her. But yeah, but like in a video store, like, it's kind of funny to see someone shoplift, as well as also, like, this person ends up getting caught. Matt catches her being a thief. Matt goes on and like, hey, I would have given you this for free, but since you stole it, yeah, no. So Matt catches her, goes on and has her leave the store. So we have a girl that I believe is Parker, because I tried to picture match character, whatever. So if there's names that I get wrong in this, it's clearly because I had to figure out how this cast list is to possibly work, and I hope I'm correct. So Parker comes up to this counter and is to have a complaint about how Scream Queens no longer make sense. That most of the time, Scream Queens are to actually be women who actually scream or get killed or are to go on and be in a number of different horror films. But it seems that at this point, like, a Scream Queen is just anybody that's to look good enough or has big, huge tits and whatever. And so both Mark and Mac are to be at this counter. Mark is going on being the guy right behind this laptop here. So they're talking to Parker here about this, and she's complaining about how it's eye candy, and so if anything, like, I think now at this point, like, I could say that screaming in a horror film, like, there's a lot of people that either scream too much or they cry too much in a horror film. And I think that that is the most annoying thing in a horror movie. Because there's a lot of people that go on and they plead for their lives. Oh, please don't hurt me. Ooh. And that is annoying. There's a lot of people that scream in a horror film. There's also people that are to do gameplays of horror things and they scream. And it's like, okay, well, cool. Like, I'm not very much annoyed by that because it's real life. But in a movie, there's a lot of overdone of that. So, because a horror film. So, I can see that, like, Parker probably appreciates the effort of the actor, but I clearly can say that screaming, whining, and crying is not something that I find to be an attractive thing in a horror film anymore. Or to be a thing that I want in my horror films. I just want the hero character or whoever ends up being the final girl or whatever. I just want her to be smart. I just want the characters to not be dumb as F and get killed via the stupidest of things. But that's just me. I've probably grown more as a person in my horror genre of enjoyment. But maybe you were to go on and be much more different and traditional and what have you. And that's okay. Because people, that's their slice of horror debate and horror ways about going about enjoying their genre of horror. Horror. Anyways, so uh I think the way in which that they eventually like defend this argument is that a number of actresses who are involved in the horror genre who inevitably become scream queens, a lot of them also have gone on to at some point done films and stuff like that where they have been nude. Maybe not exactly in that horror film, but at some point in other things. Like, we can even look at like Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis did Trading Spaces. She did a nude scene in there. Don't know why, but she did. And if anything, everybody's like, God dang, Jamie Lee Curtis. Like, wow. Um, so yeah, so feasibly, yeah, they're to go on and be actresses that like they eventually go into being the eye candy, even though they're also the scream queen. Um, but anyways, so here's where we have Alex and Jane coming into the store and be like, okay, Mac, come on, let's go, let's do this whole camping thing. So everybody just hauls into the car. Like, it doesn't even seem like we know who's all real going. It's just like, hey, everybody who was in the scene, just get into the car. We don't even know who any of these people really are. Just get into the car because it makes the most sense. They go straight from the rental store to going camping, and that doesn't exactly make sense either. Wouldn't you have gone on and had a stop to go back home to put the movies away or something? Why would you also go on and rent movies when, or unless this is like a buying place, I don't know. But why would you go on and why would you rent a film and then and go camping? Makes no sense. Um, was this a rental place? Let me know in the comments below. So everybody crams in the car and comes to find out that Mac is to be the guy that is forced to be in the trunk. I'm a big, huge, massive dude. Even before I was to go on and be really a big, heavy, massive dude. But yeah, there'd be plenty of times where I'd go on and I'd be like a really tall guy, like, oh yeah, you're going into the trunk. I'm like, really? Like, I'm the trunk guy? Like, shouldn't someone else be the trunk guy that's smaller? But okay, whatever. I guess I'm gonna be the trunk guy. Um, anyways, so as we're driving along, we have Lacey, sitting next to Connor. I hope that that is his name because wherever I was to go on and just be trying to figure out who this guy was, like at some point I randomly found in the bit of dialogue where Max says Connor somewhere, and I think that's his name. So if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But anyways, so Lacey goes on, makes this phone call calling Meg, and there's no response because I hate to break it to you, Lacey, she's effing dead. Some parts of me also with this movie going on kind of reminds me of the Paris Hilton film House of Wax, if you guys have ever seen it. An interesting film. I think I have, yeah, I have gone on to review it in the past. You can check that out. Uh, but yeah, like either stuff like Wrong Turns or House of Wax can also go on and be things that could be thrown into this kind of similar thing and could be I can just be throwing all day to try to figure out a tag that I can go on and thrust in this film because I just need all the things of movies that I can just chuck in here that people could probably be interested in. This for and what have you, vice versa. But anyways, so as Lacey is to hang up the phone, she comes up with an excuse for Meg. It's like, oh well, Meg and Luke must be wasted. Like, if anything, Yeah, like I'm sure they probably won't come to the phone. They even tried calling her the night before, no answer. So, as they're finally to hit the brakes on this car and everybody inevitably starts getting out of it, we then open up the trunk and Mac comes out with this arrow and he's to go and look at Connor. I was like, Connor, you a Green Arrow? Yeah, because we have to figure out how the archery kit comes by the third act. It's because Connor has these bow and arrows. So that's how we come about this. That's why they make sense of it. So they end up having a campsite here. And now we get the quick time of how this kind of campsite is coming together. We have Mac that is consistently sitting on this log. I'm sure it's effing uncomfortable for him to go and be sitting there. Uh, they go on and they prop all these chairs. They get this tent together. It's very elaborate. And man, very much like it's very good that these guys did really put forth like some kind of effort um to like put up like tents and like they put up a number of tents here uh because like they could have gone on really like made it like but at least they have tents so anyways yeah like that's how small of sometimes budgets that I've seen movies where it's like it's a camp movie but there's no tent there's like sleeping bags but it doesn't make sense yeah anyways so we would go on here as I'm trying to figure out exactly what to say in this part of the film. um Mac is to be persuaded to go on with the girls, because if not, he's to go on and be chopping wood with Connor. So immediately Mac gets up and starts walking off with the girls. The girls are trying to go on and find where Meg and Luke are, and they're calling out for them. So we go on and like I was hoping that this was not going to be a movie where like the entire time they were going to go on like Meg, Luke for like the whole film, and I'm glad that they completely ditched that idea. Because yeah, there are some movies where like they take the whole idea of finding somebody and throughout the entire film they're calling out for this person and it gets annoying. I make the whole bit about like the guy named Steve that I keep having to call out Steve, and it gets more and more funny because all the that I just keep bringing up. Steve, Steve, like uh, you forgot your pill, Steve. Steve, where'd you go? Like football's in an hour. Like further get more absurd and absurd. Um, to inevitably I just kind of give up on the bit. But anyways, so after they go on and they look for Meg and Luke and nothing is to come from it, they all make their way back to the camp. So as they're all starting to get high and put marshmallows over the fire and getting drunk and everything in between. So we would inevitably, man, are we getting like this soon already in the film? Um, I guess we are. So we have Jason and we have Ash that are to also be this couple that I don't know why they're showcased here, but they're also just randomly added into the mix of this scene. Like there's no attachment to this group of this couple, but I guess they're also just uh having a tent near this campsite, I guess. That just kind of didn't quite make sense to me of like, okay, why do we have Jason and Ash here? So we start to see certain people in this party of campfire. They're starting to get tired and they're starting to leave the camp. We see Alex and Jane who leave, and they go into their tent. And then we see the creature going after a couple named Jason and Ash. So Ash goes on to ask Jason if he's tired. He goes on and says no. So Ash starts putting the moves on Jason, calling him like Daddy O or something, or some weird goofy thing. And Jason's like, "What did you just call me?" So now we cut to Mac, who seemingly is passed out on the ground because it seems that he's consistently doing that throughout this film. He just kind of conks out and falls asleep. We have the creature that I don't think actually has a name. He's just called Creature. As they're taking a big old whiff of Mac, and it seems that he is to just get distracted by inevitably what is to be the thrumpings of both Ash and Jason. So, as Jason and Ash are thrusting it out within their tent, it seems that the two of them are to get a little bit heated, and I mean temperature heated. So Ash goes on and is to open out her tent. I really just think that also that these are probably people that want people to know that they're banging it out anyways. So you might as well just open out the tent so they can get even more risque and get the the uh the blood pumping higher, so to speak. So as the two of them are to be doggy styling it, and it seems that Ash is to have a pretty good time here. We then would have the creature making its way to get to them. So the creature goes on and grabs Ash first. Ash yells and vanishes. Jason goes on and is to be like, okay, what the heck was that? And following up by inevitably, Jason is going to be killed also. Like, we had Ash that was kind of to be grabbed by the face, I believe, and then just taken that way and killed off screen. And then Jason, there's a bit of like him kind of like, what the heck was going on? And then like we cut back to Mac. So Mac goes on and he wakes up. He cleverly takes his camera out, hoping that he could either record or just have a light on his phone so that way he can see if both Jane and Alex are being intimate with one another. So Mac goes on and opens up the tent, and Jane whips her self out of the tent, like, "Hey, what are you doing?" And Mac honestly says, "Hey, I was hoping that the two of you were kind of eating one another out. So I was hoping to maybe see that." So Jane going on and telling Matt, yeah, you're not going to see anything. So Mac leaves, comes to find out that he is now again sleeping on a sleeping bag on the ground, having beer or water poured on himself, and he wakes up and Jane tells him, yeah, that's what you get for peeping last night. So Mac gets up, and so everybody is starting to get prepared to get out of here. They're going to transition elsewhere. So they also talk about some wrestling last night, that it could have been either Meg or Luke, but they're not quite sure. So, or that they're probably saying that it could be Mac. So we then cut to them getting the cooler out. Connor is to forcibly have Mac drag the cooler along with him because it seems that the guys are to be doing most of the heavy lifting here, which makes quite a bit of sense. And also, it's just kind of like, well, yeah, like, might as well. So, at some point, Mac gives up on dragging the cooler and it gives Connor the finger and then just has Connor drag it himself. Yeah, because evidently, like, why not get the one on wheels? Yeah, shouldn't there be a cooler on wheels? Like, shouldn't this? Anyways, oh well, hey, whatever budget you guys are gonna have for this movie. Anyways, so they make their way to the lake. So obviously, we have Alex who's just stressing about everything, and Jane is trying to convince Alex, like let's put all this to the side. Like, forget about Meg, forget about Luke. Like, enjoy your freaking time here. And so Alex goes on, like, okay, I'm going to enjoy my time, but how about you give me a beer? And Jane is like, oh, okay, that sounds like you're enjoying your time. So Mac is going on and telling Lacey to go topless, which of course she is to go on and just be baby bikini suiting it up. So Lacey makes her way into the water, and it seems that she goes on as she turns. And I don't know if this is to be to the cast or the director or who, but Lacey goes on like, am I really the only one that's going to go into the water? And it seems that no one else is going to go. So she's like, oh, okay, all right, well. So I'm kind of curious who she turned to. If anything, yeah, I would probably be upset of like, yeah, we went all the way to the lake for just this one girl to go into the lake. Why couldn't have anybody have? Why not everybody to have gone? Um, but maybe everyone else is just working on their tan, right? Because movie. Anyways, we have what looks like a camp volunteer, I guess, to be in the credits. If I'm wrong about that, I apologize. So we have this random guy that makes his way to this group of people to kind of like just stop them from what they're doing. And be like, well, hey, what are you guys doing here? They go on to explain it. It's like, well, yeah, we're just camping. And so the guy was like, oh, well, yeah, there's plenty of sites that are all around here that can give you guys some privacy to, you know what, do whatever you want. There's some blind spots and this and that. It's like, okay, how is it that this why is it that this guy is to go on and mention that? Because he himself has his own hiding spots where he is to go on uh, and be able to do his own privacy of things. So after this guy is to kind of check on all the people, and then eventually he is to inevitably leave. They kind of say that he's weird. They write him off as that, and Lacey is to look at Connor. It's like, well, I think it was kind of cute, and So Connor is like, really? Yeah, because he was just eyeing your tits the whole time. So we come to find that volunteer-ish like character here, of which name escapes me. He is to be at this tree and is watching Lacey from afar. He's going on and taking a video of her to inevitably have something for later, let's just say. And kind of like the movie like 13 Cameras or whatever, where the guy would go on and just be at this kind of hidden away part of the house, and he would just watch these people go through their common day to day, and he would just be watching them. What a weird and strange movie, but regardless, it's a movie that I'm sure would probably be tempting for me one day to probably have checked out. But I think I've gone on and I've watched stuff like the Cheryl Stone, William Baldwin movie Splinter, and I think I probably referenced that. So I don't think it'll probably go on and need me to really give a about doing that movie because I don't think it'll go anywhere. But anyways, so the volunteer goes on to be like, okay, like I'm gonna save this for later, but then also I'm gonna kind of enjoy the live show. So the guy goes on and drops trow and starts slapping the ham, gives himself a whole low high five. So while he's going on and doing that, like this guy is to say that he's getting a live show, but he's closing his eyes the whole time, so it makes no sense. As this guy keeps beating it off with his eyes closed, he's going on and imagining that Lacey is taking her top off, licking her fingers, and wanting this guy so badly. To inevitably have the creature want him so badly that he is to go on and leave quite a bit of blood marks on this tree, but we don't know exactly how he was to die because it happens off frame. So, next we cut to the group of people all getting together and having a good time. So, Parker, it seems, is getting a little bit toasted. She's getting a little bit drunk. Also, for those of you thinking that I'm probably not going to find Parker, this woman here, attractive, you would be incorrect, sir or madam. I find Parker to be very attractive. Um, I love the whole like kind of nerdy female girl that's always attractive to me. Um, but yeah, like if anything, a woman of any size, or at some points I can go on and just say that because otherwise I'd just be weird, right? Weird. He's a bit weird. Anyways, it's 2026, folks. Whatever, who cares? Or whatever future year of which that this is to exist in. Anyways, plus also doing a movie like this, it gets freaking weird anyways. And I've reviewed too many weird films at this point to disprove that otherwise that I'm not weird. So, so yeah. Parker goes on, she gets wasted. She has both Jane and Alex kind of carrying her off to where Parker's like, well, yeah, I've always ever wanted to know how does vag taste like? And really like I guess like you've never gone on and tasted self? But then again, also sweet treat. Like ew, it's getting weird again. Anyways, so uh whatever, who cares? No one would probably watch this part of the video anyways. It's okay. Uh, so, uh, a candy of sorts of which that I can't quite put my finger on. That's equivalent of it. So, uh, let me know in the comments below your your answer to that. And I'm sure no one will comment, which is fine. Our people have not experienced that quite of in area of thing because maybe they're to be a certain kind of person, which is okay. Because if anything, uh, all of people are to go on and be welcome here. So we push on. So Connor and Lacey make their way to their tent, and we get to a bit of dialogue here where Connor and Lacey is like, "Well, hey, like, how about we forget about this whole camp thing? Like, if anything, we had a bit of time in the past before where we'd gone on for just 3 days, and it was just you and me, and that's all we did, and like." Why can't we recreate that here? Just stay in this tent for 3 days. You're gonna probably be staying for a lot longer than that, forever, and just like be together. So it seems that Lacey is to find that romantic, and so inevitably the two of them are to get intimate because of the just romanticism of just uh that bit of just thought there. So now Alex and Jane have made their way back to Mac. So we would now go on and do the traditional of seemingly camp games, which to be truth or dare. We would go on to inevitably within this game have the first dare say, "Oh yeah, just drink this whole beer," and then inevitably a truth that is to be like, "Well, hey, have you ever gone down on somebody in public?" Oh yeah, ooh. No. Um, then inevitably another dare is going to be like, "Well, hey, I want you to get to third base. I want you to get to third base," and we then get a makeout scene between the two girls. The two girls then go on and they realize how much that this has affected them, how drunk they are. Because, yeah, like, obviously, getting drunk will go on and affect people wanting to be intimate, also, obviously. So, they walk off onto their tent, both the girls, and Matt starts taking his shirt off, thinking that he's going to join in. And Jane is obviously telling Matt, "Yeah, no, you're not joining any of this." And so Max sadly off again to his own devices. Uh, Matt Mac is to go and look at his hand and be like, "Well, hey, it's just you and me tonight." So now we have the creature lurking into the environment of intimacy. So we cut to Lacey and Connor that are switching a number of different positions. It seems at certain points we're going on and seeing them go down on one another. Lacey goes down on Connor and vice versa. There's no 69 here. It's just like one after the other. Then there is eventually a bit of like Connor over top of Lacey. So Matt goes on, is in the woods, seemingly taking a drag from a cigar or whatever this is, and is like, "Well, hey, this looks like the right place." For what? We're not really sure, but it doesn't really matter anyways. So as further the intimacy goes, with Lacey now on top of Connor, and Alex going down on Jane, Jane is to go on and admit to, or Alex is to admit to Jane that she needs to go pee. She needs to go to the bathroom. So Alex goes on and is to put back on her top, is to walk outside and make her way to the bathroom. Here's where Alex inevitably gets attacked by the creature. There's some blood on her neck. We don't know how bad the neck injury is, but eventually she bleeds to death and at some point dies in this film. Quite late in the film, but still, she inevitably dies. we then, and oh, she also gets goozled and lifted it. So, at some point, Mac goes on to find Alex's body and yell to Jane that Alex is down on the ground. While this is all going on, we also have the creature that is attacking both Lacey and Connor. So the creature goes on to attack Lacey, kills her, I think through like ripping through the tent, and then goes after her organs, let's just say. And we have Connor that tries to go on and face off against the creature, and he ends up getting killed for it. I think Connor ends up getting like a knife in, but yeah, the creature inevitably ends up killing Connor. So they go on, both Jane and Matt go on and they take care of Alex. They put like a bandana over her neck. And the three of them are kind of away from the scene. Here's where we go and we have Matt who's assuming that there's a predator creature that's going on here that's killing them all. I think there's a reference of predator somewhere in here. So inevitably, as they go on and they start making their way through the tents, they come to find more and more people are not there or dead. They make their way through these tents, assuming that this is Luke or Meg's tent, but yeah, it's not. So as they further go through the campsite and find more people dead, like Connor, the only thing left to do is get back to the car and to try to get out of here at this point. It seems that weirdly enough that the car won't start or something's going on with the car, so it won't go anywhere. So because we never see them escape with the car. Like we by the end of the film go on and see the final girl left alive who's just walking off of the woods, and that just ends the film, which makes no sense. You would have thought that the the Rangers would have come, that like if anything, like like some kind of somebody would have appeared and been like, oh yeah, hey, yeah, we've been getting reports about like uh people dying in this campsite. Da, 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 da. Yeah, like you would have thought so many people going missing in this campsite, you would think someone would have gone on and started a ranger to go and investigate this, right? Anyways, so Matt goes on and mentions the weapons that are in the back of the car. That it's like, well, hey, if we can't get out of here via this car, then we need to, of course, go on and use these weapons to fight against this creature. So, because what inevitably will happen is Mac will be dragged by this creature. Uh, Jane goes on and gets her bow and arrow out and starts to attack said creature. And here is where Mac ends up getting attacked here. I think he ends up getting choked or goozled or whichever. And Mac, when he fights this creature, he goes on and hits him in the nuts. He's like, the thing has nuts. So yeah, Mac goes on and fights this thing, but he also tells Jane, hey, yeah, get out of here because you're going to die along with me if you stay here any longer. So Jane makes her way back to Alex. Alex, it seems, at this point, has to really be dragged away with Jane so that way they can safely get out of here. Um, as Mac is getting puked on after getting seemingly killed. I guess this creature really hated him for some strange reason. Or maybe just the things that are going on within Mac's system is making this creature sick. I don't know why, but if anything, this creature is just having a strange coughing fit or a strange barfing fit for this specific guy. So, as Alex is then thrusted onto a tree, telling Jane that she can no longer go, that she is going to die here, Jane is then now forced to be the only survivor, and she needs to use these bows and arrows to fight against this creature. So she turns into full Rambo and full Arnold Schwarzenegger Predator here. And she uses these arrows and also this explosive arrow that has like this torch-like thing upon it. She is to kind of prep these arrows to like, okay, this is going to be how I'm going to go on and how I'm going to fight this creature. So the creature starts coming into the fight here. So yeah, so much about this movie feels like Predator, but also it's just like and it's cool that they reference that in this movie because yeah, like that's what they went for. Like that's what they got in this movie was a Predator film. So we have Jane that preps the first arrow and launches it at the creature, and shortly thereafter that Jane can't really see the creature. She needs to go on it and whip out this flare, try to find out where it is. She also has this knife on her. And then I think she ultimately regrets that decision. The creature goes on and goozles her and chokes her, grabs her. And Jane somehow escapes. I'm assuming flare on her. She probably and gets away via that. So Jane hobbles away from Monster, getting back to the tree that has these arrows. So Jane now goes on to take this arrow that is to be this either explosive or either just torch-like arrow. Because eventually when Jane does detonate this arrow to hit this monster, there is an explosion that happens seemingly after that, I believe. So Jane goes on and fires off this arrow while saying like a one-liner, like "suck this" or something like that. So Jane fires this off, and then there's a woof of explosion that seems to have happened here, or just a big burst of flame that ends up coming. We also have this arrow that is to be kind of like in an interesting way, like following to the creature, which was like, okay, I guess that's the way that you can go on and definitively do that to show that the creature is getting hit here without actually getting to it. So clever on the people who did that. So shortly thereafter that we go on to then see Jane. She's now in the woods, sleeping for how exhausted that I'm sure she was, running around, uh, getting brutally hurt by this monster, as well as also the injury of her leg, like wasn't really gonna help her get anywhere. So we just see her finding somewhere in the woods to just pass out because she's freaking exhausted. She is to have waked up the following day, got back up onto her feet, and then walked off into the woods, off into the sunset, or in this case, just more woods because we don't see a sunset or anything like that. And then we just get title screen and we get credits, and I think there's a bit of blooper reel or something like that going on in this film. Either way, yeah, that's what happens in this movie. That's the blow for blow, scene for scene. You know what I mean, Jelly Bean? Yeah, this one is going to be a thing that I'm going to upload today, and it's to ultimately be about the length of the video. But if you really think about it, for how I did the whole kind of prepping this movie, and how I was to have gone on and talked about it, yeah, really is to go on and just be the definitive way about me going and doing this review. I don't know if I even went through the actual beginning scenes of what this movie actually is. Um, I don't know if I did that in the beginning of this. I don't even think I graded the movie either. So, like, it was very hard for me to go on and grade a movie like this because of how small of a budget it was. Like, I couldn't go on and definitively say that this movie's great. I could just say, like, well, obviously you're just going to go into this movie because of the scenes that are to be the TNA of it. So, really, I'll just have to be forced to say that it's like, really, you're probably just going to go into this movie for a very specific reason. Regardless of my grading of it, you're going to check it out anyway. So, what would be a point of going on and giving this movie a grading? I would just want to have people to just be aware of it, but if anything, also know that there's a number of other movies that also exist. Um, that are just like it or very similar to it. Really, that's all I can really do because I don't think anybody's really going to care what the grading of this movie is. They're just going to know that there's going to be some TNA scenes in here, some sex stuff going on. So that's all people are going to care about. They're not going to care that I either liked this movie or I hated it because really, like, and I don't feel I hated it because I've seen it more than once now. So that's to be positive, but like I'm not going to go on to really say or go out of my way to say that I could definitively thumbs up this movie either, because it's really just a movie where you're waiting to ultimately just get what you're going to get out of it, which is to obviously be the skin scenes and the yeah, it's just because other than that, there's not enough like story within this, but like can you blame them? Like, what more could they have given you? Uh, Either that, like, there is other movies that got on to have given you a lot less, um, that have had even more budget to them. So yeah, so with that said, yeah, I can go on and say that I enjoyed or liked this film, even without actually saying outright that I can thumbs up this movie. I can just say that people are just going to be clickbaited into it because of the title. And what they're assuming they're going to get out of this. So, anyways, I'm going to get out of this so I can go on and follow up with another review right after this. So that's it. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.